talking in my mind. Stayed on sleeping, walking and talking in my mind. Stayed on sleeping, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Good morning, CSL Simi Valley. Welcome to Sunday's Virch service. All right, now, it's time for all of us to go into prayer. We've got a little bit of spotty internet connectivity today, and I can't hear you guys. Usually I can. So we'll push it through, but right now I want everybody to just affirm smooth, easy sailing as we go through Virch today. You know, we've got, I've noticed that we have such an expanded community, and I really love going back through and looking at everybody's comments after service. They're absolutely amazing and wonderful, and thank you so much for having the community talking back and forth. I wish I could look at it while I'm on here, because it would make me feel much like when we're in sanctuary, and I really am looking forward to the time that we can find a way to be together. We're looking still at some social events and maybe a concert coming up where we can all get together, socially distance, and hear some music together. But for now, I just want to celebrate all those that when we do get together, those that will have to fly to come here, people that are watching us from Florida or from South Carolina, from Minnesota, from Texas, from Nevada and Arizona, and all of your friends that you invited from other parts of the country, from Oregon and Washington. We hear people from all of those places joining the CSL Simi Valley Virch. Oh, Denver, Mile High, people there are tuning in as well. And I just want to celebrate that and just sit with the joy of our expanded community, one of the benefits that comes out of where we are right now. So, with all of that in mind, bringing to you now, let's do our vision and our mission statement as to who we are and what we're all about. Here it is. We're community, inclusive, loving, and authentic. We celebrate all paths to God in gratitude, empowering self and others. We serve compassionately through outreach, inspiration, and education. That's who we are. That's why we're here. And here's what we do.
Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day here in South Carolina's Low Country, where the shrimp are jumping and the Spanish moss hangs low. My birth certificate indicates that my name is Ruth Ellen Rambo, but my official name is Auntie Ruth. I want to thank you for participating in our worship celebration this morning, and it's my pleasure to bring you the announcements. I strongly recommend that you grab your artificial intelligence devices, or, dare I say it, pencil and paper, so that you can record the information. My nephew, your Reverend Stephen, and I love to laugh. So this event is just perfect for us, and I believe that it's right on time for you too. CSL Virtual Comedy Night, Saturday, August 22nd at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. The lineup includes Jason Love, who is a recent guest at our center, Carlos Oscar, who was named Princess Cruise Line's Entertainer of the Year, Gina Stahlhaven, winner of the San Francisco International Comedy Competition, Kay Vaughn, seen on Last Comic Standing and Bring the Funny, and Johnny Beaner, whose TV credits include David Letterman's Late Late Show and more. The show is being offered to the entire CSL community, coast to coast. So Reverend Stephen and Jason will be your hosts. The evening's designed to help relieve the tedium of the COVID-19 house arrest and to support our various centers. There's no charge. However, a large love donation is encouraged. And since the comedians are donating their time, all the donations collected will stay with the center. Great comics streaming right into your home. Register today using this link, bit.ly/CSL Comedy. After completing the registration, you will receive an access code for the evening, a virtual ticket for the virtual comedy. If you missed any of that, there will be notices. There will be notices in upcoming weekly e-blasts and on our website calendar. And while it's called the CSL Virtual Comedy Night, anyone can attend. So get your buds to join us. This week's Wednesday night experience happily features the return of poetry as spiritual practice with Reverend Johanna as our facile facilitator. Experience the uplifting effects of diving into the sacred pool of poetry. Tap into your innate enthusiasm for a life fully lived. In the words of Robert McDowell, poetry opens up a thrilling lifelong dialogue, self to creator and self to self, that makes possible greater understanding of who we are, of how we responsibly create and care for community. So, seriously consider rearranging your schedule if need be, so it allows you to enjoy poetry as spiritual practice with Reverend Johanna this Wednesday, August 19th at 7 p.m. Here's the Zoom information for poetry as spiritual practice. The meeting ID 813-2449-6144. There's no password as Reverend Johanna is using the waiting room. Please make sure to put your name in the window after Johanna grants access to the poetry circle. Earlier in the evening, just prior to poetry, you can join Yoga with Debbie at 5:30. Here's Debbie with more.
Good morning, CSL Simi Valley. I invite you to join me Wednesday evenings from 5:30 to 6:30 for yoga. Do me a favor. Take a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose, and release it out through your mouth. How did that feel? If you like the way that felt and you want to join me, there's so much more of that takes place in yoga. You don't have to have any experience at all, or you can have a lot of yoga experience. It works for anybody. And the great thing is you're in the comfort of your own home, in your own space, and nobody else has to see what you're doing but you. Give it a shot. Come and join me Wednesday nights from 5:30 to 6:30 on Zoom through the link that CSL Simi Valley provides you. Namaste.
Spiritual yoga is for everyone, easy on the body and great for the soul. Here's the Zoom information for yoga. The meeting ID 878-5693-8671. And the passcode is 253932. I regret to report that practicing oneness at one is on hiatus for August. However, Dr. Susan continues recoding lessons for the children in our community and beyond. Play and Learn with Dr. Susan lessons are available on the CSL Simi Valley YouTube channel. Dr. Susan also streams live on Sunday mornings at 9:30 through the center's website. Prayer, or spiritual mind treatment as we call it, is always available from one of our practitioners or ministers. Follow the prompts on our website to find practitioner contact information. You can also call the office to leave your request for support. This live broadcast remains here on Facebook for replay whenever you like. And knowing how it can sometimes be difficult to find an earlier post, you can find today's and all of our virtual services on YouTube. Search CSL Simi Valley. Move from Facebook to Zoom later this morning on Apres-Verge, our after-service fellowship, where we discuss today's talk and ask questions of Reverend Stephen. You can also pray with a practitioner or simply connect with other community members. A link will be posted in the Facebook comments window near the end of the service this morning. Welcome to all of you viewing from wherever you are. We're so grateful that you've chosen to spend this time with us. Now, here's Sherry singing Holy, Holy.
Wow, that's my Auntie Rufy. Thank you. That was so cool. I loved having you do that, and I've been so gracious to have my grateful to have my family do affirmations and announcements for the service. And if you have some friends or family in the CSL community that you want to have do announcements, I'd be happy to record them. Just send me the information and I'll hook it up and I'll get your family on and we'll expand this because, as I said, Verge allows us to go coast to coast all over the place, and that's what I've enjoyed doing with each and every one of you. Okay, so I mentioned that there were some technical glitches going on in the background. I don't know if you even noticed it, but I noticed it, and there's a part of me, I just want to make sure I bring you the absolute best Verge service that I can each and every Sunday, so that what you get is as close to what we can have in person as possible. So to that end, I think I found out the issue that's going on inside the system, and it's going to require a restart. So talk amongst yourselves for 2 minutes. I'm going to shut the live stream down and bring it back up in, we'll make it 3 because that's more of a triune nature. That's a very science of mind thing. Body, mind, and spirit, soul, soil, and law. So in 3 minutes, we'll be back right here. Don't go away. We'll see you in 3 minutes. All righty, welcome back. All right, I just love technology. I'll be so happy when they get all this stuff working like a toaster. You put your toast in the toaster, it works. That's why they call it an appliance. See, technology is just something to make you go. Breathing, centered, everything is right, divine, and perfect. That's how it works. Okay, so normally, right after the announcements, and thank you again, Auntie Ruth, for lovely announcements. Right after the announcements, we go to Sherry Deeds. So let's go to Sherry, and then you get to share the Verge with all those people I talked about all over the parts of the country that wouldn't get to see us because they're not here in Southern California. But now we're in the virtual world, and anybody can watch us. Here's Sherry.
Spirit within me.
Good morning, and welcome to Art, Affirmation, Reading, and Treatment. Do you like this place I found out in the woods? Well, actually, I found it on the internet, but it's a lovely picture. We can imagine that I'm out in the woods this morning. So I'm going to read the affirmation once, and I'll invite you to read it with me. I see the differences and nuances that create uniqueness as evidence of the immensity and complexity of Spirit's creative power and presence on display in all things and all beings. Okay, together. I see the differences and nuances that create uniqueness as evidence of the immensity and complexity of Spirit's creative power and presence on display in all things and all beings. So my reading this morning was going to be from the Science of Mind textbook, and I tried to look up today's theme and discovered that the word palette, as in divine palette, does not appear once in the Science of Mind textbook. So it came to me that the song Colors of the Wind might be an appropriate reading today, because Colors of the Wind is to paint with that divine palette. So it's the Colors of the Wind by Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz. So let's begin. You think I'm an ignorant savage, and you've been so many places. I guess it must be so. But still I cannot see. If the savage one is me, how can there be so much that you don't know? That you don't know. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you. And for once, never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. How high will the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or whether we are white or copper skinned. We need to sing with all the voices of the mountains. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth, and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. So join me now as we use our divine palette to paint with all the colors of the wind in an opening treatment. In this sacred moment, I recognize the all-inclusiveness of nature. I recognize the inclusiveness of spirit. I recognize the inclusiveness and inclusion of humanity as nature, expressing uniquely as each individual. All are welcome. All are included in the expression of the one, each being a color in the divine palette of nature. The universe plays no favorites. The power of the creative principle works equally for each color in the divine palette, for each color of the wind. And yes, every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. In recognition of past attempts to own the earth, I release my attachments to ownership. I recognize that natural law is always moving to balance the excesses and the scarcities. In silence, I become attuned to sound. In anger, I search for peace. In shallowness, I yearn for depth. And from my depth, I learn to be light-hearted again. I welcome this balance. I recognize this balance as nature. I recognize this balance as God. In this moment, I recognize the divinity of nature and swing wide the door to my heart, welcoming each and every color of the palette into my loving embrace, knowing with absolute certainty that all are working in harmony to create the magnificent mosaic of life. I notice when others draw a circle that shuts me out. I know how to win. I draw a circle that includes them in. Further, I know how magical a circle is, for it is both infinite and ever expanding, with an inside and no outside, because we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. There is no escape from being a unique expression of God. I know transformation into a world of beings that are in harmony with nature and each other, no matter our outward differences, is not only possible, but happening now. I know to be grateful for being awakened from a comfortable sound sleep. It speaks to me of a new adventure, calling me. I gratefully answer that call. I am truly grateful to be now singing with all the voices of the mountains and painting with all the colors of the wind. And now I release my word into nature's law, knowing it is already done. And so it is.
Warm greetings, CSL Simi Valley. My name is Nathen Aswell, and I'm coming to you from Vancouver, BC, Canada. It's my great pleasure to be a part of your Verts this morning, and I thank Reverend Stephen and Sherry for the opportunity to be a part of it with you this morning. I affirm that I see the differences and nuances that create uniqueness as evidence of the immensity and complexity of Spirit's creative power and presence on display in all things and all beings. And in honor of that, I would like to play you my song, Little by Little. Little by little, bit by bit, I'm getting to the heart of it. Little by little, love is guiding me home. With every step along this path, I feel a little lighter. With every lesson that I learn, I burn a little brighter. Little by little, bit by bit, I'm getting to the heart of it. Little by little, love is guiding me home. And every soul along this road is like a little mirror. In understanding you, I see myself a little clearer. Little by little, bit by bit, I'm getting to the heart of it. Little by little, love is guiding me home. Throughout this journey, With everything that I create, I grow a little stronger. With every triumph on this track, I'll go a little longer. Little by little, bit by bit, I'm getting to the heart of it. Little by little, love is guiding me home. Little by little, love is guiding me home.
That is an interesting looking instrument, isn't it? Some of us anticipated that. In fact, Sherry Deeds also said the same thing. Nathen does play a very cool instrument, and to talk a little bit about him, I'm going to bring him back to share with you what he calls what is known as the Chapman stick.
Hi again, everyone. Sherry had a request. She said, I'm sure people will look at that instrument of yours and have a lot of questions. Can you talk a little bit about it? Sure, I'd be happy to. This very unusual instrument is called the Chapman stick. It was invented by a gentleman who still lives in Los Angeles. His name is Emmett Chapman, and he's been making them since 1974. Think of it as the stringed equivalent of a piano. So instead of me plucking or strumming with my right hand, I'm just tapping the strings with both hands so I can play two parts at the same time, like you would on a piano. There you are. If you'd like even more information, which would include a lot of videos and information about various kinds of woods and tunings and all the rest of that stuff for all the instrumentalists in your life, the website is very easy to remember, stick.com, stick.com. Thanks.
It's time for the gap. 3 minutes of silent meditation. And today I bring you a family of ducks from the Arroyo.
Nothing like 3 minutes of silent meditation to get all your ducks in a row. Namaste.
May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, a prayer to you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, my love. In every face may I see you, in every voice may I hear you, in all that is may this be true. May we be one, may I be you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, a prayer to you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, my love. In every breath may I breathe you, in every drop may I taste you, in all that is may this be true. May we be one, may I be you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, a prayer to you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, my love. In every touch may I feel you, in every heart may I feel you, in all that is may this be true. May we be one, may I be you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, a prayer to you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, my love. Be a prayer to you, my love. Be a prayer to you, my love. A prayer to you. Ooh.
That is such a beautiful song. May all that I say and all that I do be a prayer to you. You know, I am so lucky in that I get to hear these songs throughout the week, and I've been walking through the house all week long. And all that I say and all that I do be a prayer to you. Let everything I do be a prayer to the divine. Wake up this morning with my mind on spirit, and let everything I do be a prayer to you. And by it being a prayer to you, because of the way we have distilled the ancient teachings in the science of mind, what is a prayer to you, spirit, is a prayer to me as an expression of spirit, is a prayer to each of you as expressions of spirit. It's a prayer to the wholeness that is life itself, an expression of spirit. And that's what we're talking about. This big palette of life, the divine palette, is today's talk. The divine palette, with the infinite creativity of spirit that's showing up as all the myriad of colors that we have available to us. That palette that blends all the shades and all the different levels of expression, the simple creativity of God itself. And our journey through life is really to transcend our limited view, the colors that we like most. The range, the gamut is huge, but the colors that we like most, we sometimes get trapped into. But our journey through life is to transcend that limited range and to expand our horizons, to block our ego from its limited awareness of life. You know, the ego is a very interesting part of us. It's so necessary, it's so valuable, and yet it's such a boss. It wants to tell us everything, to do everything, but sometimes we need to right-size the ego and say, I know, ego, I know you feel safe with what you already know. I know you feel safe with what you've already seen. I know you feel safe with what we already experienced, but I want to experience more. I want to see more of the divine palette. I want to have more colors in my life. I want my awareness to dawn to the greatest. I don't want to block the love, and but the status quo is what the ego likes. It wants to stick with the status quo, even if the status quo is killing us. Even if it's killing us. And you know what? We can look at our life today and see that in ways it is killing us. I saw a very interesting feature on the news this morning. It happened yesterday up in the Sierra, a firestorm, because we're having so many fires, because there is a relationship we're starting to see now between climate change and the intensity of the fires that we're seeing. And now this firestorm can happen. It was a fire tornado. And it can happen with any kind of intense fire, but the fuels that are coming up from the fires that we're having today, and the way we have managed our nature system in such a way to create these fires, this is so stuck to the status quo that we're seeing how it's killing us. And this flame was just sucking in air from all sides until the Coriolis effect began to make those airs that were coming into the fire begin to spin and turn until they just fueled themselves into literally a fire tornado. We look around and we can see how the status quo is holding us back. And when we're talking about colors, talking about the divine palette, even then, the status quo is holding us back. Think about, some of you have apps perhaps, or a Word document, or maybe it's Pages, or Publisher, or some kind of graphics presentation. And you go into that graphics presentation, and you look at the various colors that are in there. And I've noticed that there's, in some of mine, there are 3 levels. The first level is just these color squares, little dots of color that you can pick and select from, predetermined color squares to pick from. But maybe you want to go a little bit deeper. Maybe you want to expand beyond the comfort zone of just those little blocks of color. So you click on the next option, and up comes a box of crayons, many different crayons, more colors still selected just for you, specialized, already determined, already decided upon, And so that's our next level of expansion. I want to do more than just my regular blocks, but I don't want to think about creating too terribly much, so I'm going to let you show me the expansion that can happen. And then there's the next button, and you push on that button, and it's the color wheel. It's the full gamut. and there's no divisions on it. It's kind of like Nathan's Chapman stick. It has frets, but there's spaces between the frets. You can create all levels of notes. You can create all kinds of colors in that color wheel, and that's God's creative palette. That's the divine palette that we have access to, where we can create the entire gamut of colors that appeal to us, that expand us, that allow us to transcend. When I'm thinking about God's palette and the planet itself, zoom out with me out into outer space for a minute and look back down. We're on a space station and we're looking back down on planet Earth, and there it is, that blue marble with shades of gray and the deep ocean blues and shades of white clouds that are moving around the globe, almost as if the planet is breathing because it's alive. It's an organism, right? Come with me now. There's a wonderful gentleman here. I'm going to get this out here. There's a wonderful gentleman named Guy Murchie who's written this book called The 7 Mysteries of Life. And he talks about that experience of looking at the planet from outer space and the complexity of God's palette. And I want to share some. Stick with me now, because he can be a little wordy, but I just love this. He's talking about, now remember, we're way out. Hold on, my books are about to fall over. We're way out in outer space, okay? We're looking back down on the earth. And he says, it is a major effort to realize that invisible biospheric surface is literally composed of millions of granulated films of life of innumerable but discrete varieties. Not only creeping molds and soils and weeds and giant trees, but buzzing flies and busy sparrows and darting fish and swarming germs, lumbering elephants, and the finned vehicles of man, amid invisible currents of pollen floating unnoticed upon the moving halls of air, turning in on each other magnetically, harmonically, corridor by corridor, stair by stair, scale by scale, note for note, fa-la-la, fa-la-la. While mysteriously, ubiquitously, the sun's rays penetrate the microcosmic keyholes of life to warm and activate the world. Feeling, knowing, loving, creating, and all these teeming fields of ferment and resonance somehow mingle and overlap and intersect without cease, spatially, temporarily, mentally, often fighting each other, ever competing for supremacy without losing their identities. Indeed, while continuously developing new species with new identities as evolution progresses. That's the complex palette upon which we live, where all that is taking place, where the dust that streams in through the windows, where the wind that's blowing the pollen in the trees, all of that is working to create new species and new life and new, more complex colors and patterns that are available to us. All of that waiting for our attention, for us to wake up. As Sarah Blondin says in her new book called Heart Minded, she says that the more we are willing. Oh, and by the way, the quotes today, Reverend Johanna is going to put the quotes in the chat. So when I go to a quote, if you don't follow it and you want to keep with it, you can just go to the chat. It'll appear in the chat right now. So she's going to put in the first quote from Sarah Blondin from her book Heart Minded that says, the more, and thank you so much for that, please. The more we are willing to enter into conversation with whatever it is we confront on a daily basis, the more awake we become. The more we are willing to enter into conversation with whatever it is we confront on a daily basis, the more awake we become. Whenever we're able to look at a different color, and by that, yes, the color palette I'm talking about, but also the color of our mind, the way we color things, how we use the word, we color certain experiences with good or bad, right or wrong, pleasant or unpleasant. The way we color things, if we enter into conversation with those things that we confront, and we confront does not always mean that. Confront simply means I come in front of, and I'm with. I'm with and in front of that experience. Confront. So those things that we confront, that we acknowledge, that we see on a daily basis, the more awake we become. And we get to awaken to look for the macro and the micro. And by macro, I mean to look for God in the small things. See, evolution's arc is complex, as you heard in Murchie's book. The evolution's arc is complex, and God is in every little minute detail. As Rumi wrote, he says, I died as mineral and I became plant. I died as plant and rose as animal. I died as animal and was human. And in all of that, we are divine. We are divine. Throughout it all, we are divine. We are the macro and the micro. We have the basic colors within us, and from those basic colors, we get to spring forth into magnificent creativities. Those basic colors of red and green and blue, the primary colors. Okay, you might be saying, wait a minute, I thought it was red, yellow, and blue. No, red, green, and blue. And this comes from our computers and our TV sets and everything. They use the red tube and a blue tube and a green tube, create the largest gamut of colors available. And the reason they do that, because you heard, I'll do the color thing another time, but the point here is that in our eyes, we have a red cone and a green cone and a blue cone that takes those levels of light, and depending on how much of that light is necessary, it adjusts appropriately to give us the full range of colors that we see. And that's why your TV set, that's why your iPad, that's why your computer screen uses red, green, and blue, because it's an active color. It activates color by broadcasting color through light. And so that's what we're seeing through light. And that's how the universe works, right? Let there be light. Let there be energy. Let there be creativity bursting forth within us. But also, let there be light, the things that are shining upon us. And all of that is within us. And that is the palette of God being expressed by means of us. That palette holds the hidden images of everything and the behaviors that we notice and even the ignorances that we partake in and the unwillingness that we have to stand out into the greater thing, into the greater good. As I was thinking about this story of divine palette, my mother's an artist, and I was thinking back to all the times that she would dab some paint and then mix it and combine the various colors together. And even there were times when she would want to put texture into her artwork and would actually throw sand on it to bring texture to it. And I was thinking about how that's such an example of God's creative nature, you know. How we can see in the very ordinary things these very extraordinary activities. Here we got sand. Think about that. Sand from a boulder that was impenetrable, but over time and winds and water, it breaks down to become sand that then becomes squeezed, melted, and blended to become glass so that we can see through it, so that we can see the divine hidden within. Jeff Foster, in his lovely book, it's called Deep Acceptance. He says, this is the Jeff Foster quote. He says in your chat, the most ordinary of things can easily turn extraordinary, making us wonder if perhaps the extraordinary is hidden in the ordinary, always just waiting to be discovered. Wow. No matter what complexity we see, no matter how ordinary something may seem, the extraordinary, the beautiful, divine palette is revealing God in every situation around us. Be it the protest in the street, the firestorms blowing through the Sierra, the hurt in families, the loss of loved ones, the joy of a child coming home with a new idea, the little one who finally lets go of the wall and begins to walk, or in the case of a lot of little kids, run. You ever notice how some little kids, they run before they actually walk because they just go so fast they don't want to fall, because walking is actually falling forward, right? And so if you don't want to fall fast, you put your foot out fast, and now you're running. And then you slow down and you begin to walk as you get more comfortable with it. But our job, I digress, which I like to do, but our job, particularly in experiencing the divine palette, the colors that exist everywhere, our job is to become intimate with Spirit. Our job is to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. Our job is to confront what is within us and to awaken to the divine that's within every experience, you see, to examine that palette and then to apply love to the creativity that's showing up for us. And to recognize that there are no ugly colors. Just like there are no good or bad experiences. We just make it so with our decisions. But that's a short vision of the large arc of evolutionary movement, you see. But in many times, what seems ugly, what seems failure is actually just, I wouldn't call it not failing, falling down, but it's failing up. I mean, think about Arianna Huffington. Here, Arianna Huffington was rejected 36 times before her first book was done. And you know the story of J.K. Rowling, same thing. And you may not realize this, but Elvis, before he was Elvis without a first name, didn't need a first name, when he was like Elvis Presley, who are you still? Driving a truck, he tried singing. The guy said, you know what, keep driving, dude. Didn't like the way he sang. Now, he doesn't need a last name anymore. He's just Elvis. Sidney Poitier. Oh, my God. When Sidney Poitier speaks, the room stops. But there was a time when he was first starting out in acting that his accent, his Caribbean accent, was so thick, no one would give him a role. Can you imagine? Star Wars. Disney turned it down. United Artists turned it down. Universal Studios turned it down. Don't they wish they hadn't, right? And this guy, Harlan David Sanders. Harlan David Sanders was turned down 1,009 times before a restaurant finally said, okay, I'll try your chicken recipe. Yeah, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, 1,009 times. And Gene Roddenberry, Star Trek, he worked for LAPD, writing in his spare time, in his second job at night, writing for Car 54, Where Are You, and Highway Patrol. But the whole time in his desk drawer was Star Trek. He couldn't get it sold. And now look at that. See, these things, the overdwelling presence, the creative energy is within the ordinary. Extraordinary is within the ordinary. If you're feeling that you're seeing an ugly color in your life, let that go and know that the overdwelling presence is indwelling your personal nature. And therefore, as Dr. Holmes tells us, even that is another quote that you can see in your window. Dr. Holmes tells us, even that which appears not to be God is God in disguise. Even that which appears not to be God is God in disguise, because everything is God. We can't have it halfway. We can't say it's all God and then complain that it's not God when we get rejected 36 times. We can't complain and say it's not God when they tell us, keep driving, Elvis, you can't sing. We can't complain when they say, I can't understand what you're saying, Sidney Poitier, you'll never be a good actor. It's not God, it's God. You can't say it's not God when the producers of Star Wars and the writers of Star Wars go home with the script in their hand from Disney, from United Artists and Universal. You can't say it's not God when Gene Roddenberry has to keep that Star Trek script in his desk for 30 years before somebody makes it. You can't say it's not God when the box of chicken doesn't get to be a box of chicken because nobody will cook your chicken. It's just God in disguise. It's just an opportunity to fail up. It's just a time to go back to the divine palette and mix your paints again and keep displaying your paintwork. Keep displaying your artwork. See, our journey in life is to reveal the uniqueness that is within us. Though we are not always conscious of that uniqueness, we must know who we are and whose we are. We are the divine made manifest. And this works for everything, be it the protests that are happening in the streets, be it the calls that are asking for people to go out and vote this year, be it as you should on every kind of election. You should always vote. Be it those that are looking at their finances and are wondering, how am I going to make ends meet? If it's those that are worried about their job because they haven't been able to get their business back in order because of the COVID, all of these things, we are divine. And we have a divine palette, and it's just about going back and remixing the paintwork and coming back out. And not knowing, not dealing with the idea of these are ugly colors. We must choose to love every facet of our life and every facet of who we are. And know that at our base, we have the red, we have the green, we have the blue, we have the divine. It takes work. And if you're doubting it, that's good too. If you're doubting what I'm saying to you right now, that's okay too. Because you know what? Without doubt, there would be no faith. Check that out. Think about it. When you doubt, you have to double down on your faith. It's a muscle for faith. It's like the workout room for faith. Have a little doubt. You're not believing in it? That's okay. Doubt it? That's okay. Turn to faith and turn to understanding and knowing that you are a standout artist in life. That you are as Russell Gibbs says, you are a complex, multi-dimensional being, and loving yourself requires identifying and accepting and loving all of our seemingly separate parts. Let me say that again. You are a complex, multi-dimensional being, and loving yourself requires identifying, accepting, and loving all of your seemingly separate parts. Whether that is the loving of your separate parts as an individual, as a community, as a family, as a city, as a nation, as a race, as a non-race, as a choice of your sexual identity, however it is that you have decided to bracket your colors, however you decided to color your life, it is about identifying, accepting, and loving that part. Because see, all the colors that we are, they're not competing. All these various colors are simply completing God's business. Completing God's business as individuals, completing God's business as communities for each and every one of us. Our journey, our job, is to let our colors blend, like my mom would do on the palette. Blend the colors together to create new patterns, to create new art, to build on the unity and create that unity in our lives, that sense of oneness and wholeness through our lives. To recognize the base levels within each and every one of us. And think about these base colors. It's really interesting. Red, green, and blue. Green, the color of unconditional love. That's mind. That's spirit. That's God. Blue, the color of trust and faith. It's like trust and faith in the action of life. That's the law. That's the soil. That's the second step of the triune nature of the science of mind teachings. And red, the color of passion, of action, of form, of body. Spirit, soul, body. Green, seed. Blue, soil. Red, plant. It's all the triune nature unfolding. And as we understand that, and we do that on a day-to-day basis in our lives, we become more intimate with that indwelling, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it God, Jesus, Buddha, Atman, the oversoul, the ocean. Whatever your higher power's name is, however you color your higher power, your blend is nothing to fear. It's something to embrace. It's something to love within ourselves and within our fellow humankind. As Sarah Blondin says in her new book, Heart-Minded, rooted deep within our bodies and hearts, rooted deep within our bodies and hearts, there lives a universal language of love and of kindness. And that love and that kindness is contained within every color in God's divine palette. So my friends, take up your brush and get out there and paint your masterpiece. And join me now as we say today's affirmation. I see the differences and nuances that create uniqueness as evidence of the immensity and complexity of Spirit's creative power and presence on display in all things and all beings. Thank you. Thanks for being here for that. Whew. I'm gonna get my paints out and I'm gonna do some coloring and some planting and some growing and some expanding. But right now I'm gonna do some praying. It's our time for healing prayer. So I invite you to join me in a moment of deep reflection into the beauty of God's palette, into the divine energy and the infinite color wheel that we are all a part of, where nothing is competing and everything is simply completing the divine plan, one of good, unfolding for each and every one of us in time and space. If it's not feeling good right now, if it hasn't feeling like it's unfolding the way you would like or anticipate or can handle in this moment, that's why we go into prayer. We go into prayer for those moments when we feel challenged, when the makings of life seem more like chaos than like order, so that we can move through and understand that there's a power and a presence within us that allows us to move to that space of serenity and peace and calm understanding, where we become responsive to life and not reactive. So join me now in that moment of complete celebration, as I recognize here and now the one presence, the one power that is Spirit, and knowing that nothing stands outside of Spirit, for it is infinity expressed, and everything exists in that which is infinite. So in this moment, right here and now, I know that we are all standing in the same swimming pond of life. We're on that beautiful blue marble swirling through space, breathing as it breathes with us. And through that understanding and through that connectedness, I recognize a deep peace unfolding for our planet. I'm starting on the planet and I'm going in. I see a deep peace unfolding on the planet as the borders which do not exist from space begin to evaporate as we go down into the lower levels of the atmosphere. Yes, we may still see differences. We enjoy differences. But we do not let those differences be competitive. We let them be completing the one tapestry that is life itself, expressing as love. Coming a little closer into home, we feel the destruction and the display of energy of the earth on fire in parts of our country. And we know that those that are dedicated to working those activities are fast bringing an end to that. And that there is another movement coming on around sustainability as we move into living life more in alignment with our planet. We bring a way of dealing with nature's experiences, nature's expression, that are less harming and less troublesome for all of us that are living in congruence and in cooperation with nature itself. Coming a little closer into the city, where we still see people standing in the streets in various parts of our cities and experiencing bouts of violence and frustration. We know that there's a peace within all of us that expresses as love and camaraderie, and so we look at each other as brother and sister, and not as enemy and competing foes, but as cooperative family, and that brings a sense of harmony and joy. For those that are concerned with health, we know that perfect health is the core of each and every one of our bodies, and that perfect health is unfolding right here and now. Those that are standing on the doorway of transition, we say, yes, you may be leaving this particular form of life, but we know that there is life eternal, that, as Einstein has told us, energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed. So we see a transformation taking place for all those, and our hearts hurt as we say goodbye, but our hearts are excited for the new journey that takes place. For those that are dealing with health issues, as I said, that divine perfect health is within us. For those that are looking at something around lack and limitation, there's abundance and prosperity everywhere. And so we just dip our cup of good into that flow of riches and say, yes, that's mine, thank you. Holding this with faith and letting go of the doubt, we affirm all this good together now as we release this prayer into a perfect law that brings all these activities into form in our lives, as we say those four lovely words of completion and release. And so it is. Thank you for the moment of prayer together. If you had a prayer request, a particular prayer request, you're welcome to put that into the chat window. We will give that to our practitioners throughout the week, and they will hold your prayer in their spiritual practice and know the truth for you. And keep that in mind throughout the next few days. Oh my goodness, yes, I'm looking down at the format to see where we go next. I love it. You know what we get? We get some more beautiful music from Nathen Aswell. Nathen.
In celebrating the differences and nuances that create uniqueness in each of us, may each of us celebrate doing that thing that only each of us can do. This is my song, Do That Thing. And you can dance it
Play the game so that everyone's the same. I'm told the party line. Know the score so you're sure of what's in store. Watch for all the signs, yeah. Remedy, heard about it on TV. It's the latest thing. Surf the net so you know which one to get. It does everything. That whole scene's unraveling. Whatever feeds your soul, whatever makes you whole, whatever makes you feel, whatever makes you heal, whatever makes you sure, whatever makes you pure, whatever makes you sing, sing. Do that thing, get out of your head and just do it. Get out of your head and into your body. Out of your head and just do it, yeah. Out of your head into your body. We don't need to conform with every deed. We don't need what's new. What we need is to let ourselves be free. What we need is you, yeah. Celebrate that thing you do. Whatever feels, whatever makes you whole, whatever makes you feel, whatever makes you heal, whatever makes you sure, whatever makes you pure, whatever makes you sing, sing. Do that thing, animate, energize, stimulate, go to it, vitalize, activate, galvanize, just do it. Listen up for a minute, stop your hurrying. What you gonna get with all that worrying? So much to remember, so much to forget. It's gonna kill you if you aren't dead yet. So find a way to unwind, clear your mind. There'll never be a better place in time, because now is all we have and all there is. So just do it. Do that thing, woo, that thing that makes you sing. Whatever feeds your soul, whatever makes you whole, whatever makes you feel, whatever makes you heal, whatever makes you sure, whatever makes you pure, whatever makes you sing, sing. Do that thing, just do what you will, but harm none. Just got to remember the golden rule, which is do what you will, but harm none. And let kindness be your fuel, whatever feeds your soul, whatever makes you whole, whatever makes you feel, whatever makes you heal, whatever makes you sure, whatever makes you pure, makes you sing, sing. Do that thing. Do that thing.
Wow. That was quite the note there, Nathen. I love it. He's a wonderful artist. And I understand, I've noticed on Facebook that he does a lot of concerts. So if you look him up on Facebook, he's Nathen with an E. If you look him up on Facebook, you may be able to catch one of his afternoon concerts that he goes on pretty regularly. So good music for sure. So glad to have you with us today. So this is our giving time, and here lately we've had different members and practitioners, ministers, give some thoughts around the process of giving and tithing. And to speak about that today is Reverend Johanna. Johanna.
Good morning, and today I will be reading a quote by Catherine Ponder from her book Open Your Mind to Receive. And she says, "You can be assured that you have been abundantly endowed in intangible ways with gifts of life, mind power, and talents." Let me read that again. "You can be assured that you have been abundantly endowed in intangible ways with gifts of life, mind power, and talents that can begin to produce tangible results of increased abundance in your life. The more you share with the universe, the more you will open your mind to receive, and the more you will be shown how to develop your talents and abilities, thus enriching your life. In other words, use your palette." Thank you.
Thank you. Use your palette. Use your creative nature. And it's part of the law of circulation. It's in flow. There's a reason why they call money currency. Keep it in the flow. This is where we say our pledge together. Join me as we say that, and then you'll have opportunities to give. You can use the text to give. You can go to cslcme.org/donating, or you can send your check in to Dr. Susan, and some of you are conscious givers. We really appreciate that as well. By conscious givers, I mean auto-tithers, and we really appreciate that as well. All of you are consciously giving, and we really are grateful that you're doing that. Here is our pledge for today, and it says, "Divine love is doing its perfect work here and now. Divine love harmonizes. Divine love adjusts. Divine love prospers. Divine love foresees everything and richly provides every good thing for CSL Simi Valley. Now, divine love is victorious."
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one in the spirit around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I surrender. I'm one in the spirit around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God. I trust in God.
So just in time for the offering, I've found my way back into the treasure room out of the forest. And so this is what I know. As we practice the law of circulation, these gifts bless both the giver and the receiver, and that they go forth and celebrate the abundance of not only finances, but of health, well-being, and wholeness. And this abundance moves beyond the virtual walls of our center to the greater community. Grateful for it all, and so it is.
Hi, everyone. So we're doing the recap for the service, but first I want to say thank you to all the volunteers who participated and all who contributed to this beautiful service this morning. It's such a pleasure to see that we're coming together every Sunday morning and that people will be watching this later, because often we have like 300 views, by the middle of the week. So it's truly beautiful. Thank you all for checking in. So the recap for today, Reverend Stephen was talking about God is in every detail of life. God has a creative color palette, and we have access to that palette. We have the basic colors within us, and we get to create a large scheme of colors. And in that way, we can expand and we can transcend. There are truly no ugly colors. When we judge the color we are making ourselves, just stay quiet, listen, and accept what is there, because God is consistently revealing itself to us. And we get to express ourselves in a unique way, in alignment with our true nature. So we become standout artists. We are amazingly unique beings, creating with our color palette. At our base, we have the red, green, and blue. And by the way, John Newbill, thank you for this clarification. He says red, green, and blue are primary colors of light. Red, yellow, and blue are primary colors of pigment. It's great. I love that explanation. Reverend Stephen says, doubt is the workout room for faith. Okay, so we get to reveal our uniqueness. And in the Signs of Mind symbol, we have spirit, we have soil, and then we have form. Or often what we say is seed, soil, and plant, right? So green is the unconditional mind, the spirit, the seed. Blue is our trust and our faith. It's the soil, it's the law. And then red is our passion, our action, the form we create, the body. So be creative and create beautifully from God's color palette. And Verge, Reverend Stephen is looking at me and saying like, Verge. So after the service, we come together, après Verge, come ask questions about the service, or just share what's happening in your life, or just chat with other people. We're creating community. So I will post it as soon as I put my mic down.
And now you can put your mic down. I tell you, having it live is so wonderful that we could record these services and just play a tape for you, but we want to bring it live because there's an energy that comes with live, just like there's the energy of being together. And I really appreciate that. And we try to bring it close to you. I want to hug you visually, since I can't hug you in person, right? I had this vision of me getting a hazmat suit and then just meeting everybody in the parking lot, and we could just all hug each other. It's coming. That time is coming. But today, we're done. It's time for our closing benediction, which is a very important part of the service. Because listen to these. I'm going to say these words before we say them together, because they're so powerful. I'm at home in the heart of God. That's the love, right? I'm at home in the love that is God, the heart of God. And I'm anchored in truth. Spirit is the truth. Now we're standing grounded in that truth, all right? I can never be separate. There's only the one experience. We cannot get away from that one experience. I live in the consciousness of peace. My consciousness is centered on the axis mundi, the still point of the turning world, all right? And in that still point, I don't have to have any fear, so I let that go. And why am I letting that go? Because I am living love. That's how that means to me. How does it mean to you? Say it together with me. I'm at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love.
I release, I